And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Recruiting Insider. So before we react and talk about Gatlin Bair's top five, here is an excerpt from a conversation with Cameron Anderson, which started out, the coach at Burley, started out as a conversation for background on Colston Loveland. He was Colston's coach over at Gooding, and we just had a sit down with Colston for Behind the Uniform, so be on the lookout for that. It's a great episode. And then he started talking about Gatlin Bair. So here's that part of the conversation. So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you real quick about Gatlin. We throw around the word freak on a yearly basis. Every year there is a guy who just looks unbelievable. Last year was Nick Harbor with, 10, 2, 8, 100-meter at 235 pounds and 6'5". And then around Gatlin comes around this year, beats Harbor and Pleasant in the 100-meter, and he has the new freak tag. So, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing to land on these guys, man. But whatever it is, you got to spread some of it around.
Yeah, just blessed, man. Again, Gatlin is a product of his own work and his father's ability to understand how to. I mean, his family is probably the most athletic family in the history of the state of Idaho. His older brother is on a full ride track scholarship at Mississippi State, and he got off his mission. And his first meet as a true freshman, he finished second in the decathlon.
Wow.
Like he just ran a 10.34. And he's bigger than Gatlin. And then the other brother's going to be on a full ride track scholarship to Arkansas. And the little sister is an 8th grader, and she's the number 1 rated track athlete in the nation. Like, she's just,
wow.
That family is just different. And, Gatlin, it's always, Coach Bellamy got to see him, for the first time walking by in the hall. And it's stunning how big he's 6'3", almost 200 pounds. So, to be that size and move at a 10.18, man, like that makes him the fastest foot. Like, he's in the top 5 fastest football players in the world.
Right.
Like, there's only about 4 or 5 NFL guys that have put better times up than him in the 100. So, we've just been super blessed. And like I said, the one parallel you can draw between those two guys is that's on them. Like, they just have a different work ethic, a different mindset, and are built differently than other humans are. So, especially in the state of Idaho.
And he does not want to run track in college.
No.
Wow.
Nope. In fact, he's not. It's kind of heartbreaking for his dad because he's not even going to run track his senior year.
Wow.
His goal. That's why he didn't play basketball. He was also the number 1 rated basketball player in the state of Idaho. So Gatlin was the number 1 rated basketball, football, and track athlete in the state of Idaho in the class of 24. And he led his team to a state basketball championship as a sophomore. He didn't play as a junior because he wanted to be healthy to break all the track records as a junior because he knew he wasn't going to run when he was a senior.
Good.
So, yeah, this kid is a different animal.
Good.
Like,
grief. Good.
He's a 23-year-old, 17-year-old. Like, that's just the way I put it. Like, his mindset is just crazy.
So what class is he gonna be in? Is it gonna be 26 or 25?
So he'll be considered a class of 24 signee, but he wouldn't be on campus until like early enrollees in the class of 26 would be on campus.
Gotcha.
And that's his plan. He's going to leave on his mission. Most kids leave on their mission at the end of their senior year. And so when they get back, they got to get into shape, and most of them end up redshirting. But Gatlin's actually leaving on his mission in January when he would go to spring ball. So when he gets back, he'll have a full winter conditioning and spring practice with wherever he signs.
Wow. Okay, man. Yeah, he's got it mapped out. So as far as recruiting is concerned, you drew some parallels between he and Colston. First of all, you have that perspective being around Colston's recruitment. Does he talk to Colston at all? Have you connected those two? Do they know each other?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they actually played against each other in high school. So I was at Gooding with Colston, and now I'm at Burley. So this was my first year at Burley. I moved to a different school, and our arch rival was Kimberly. Like, he played for the team that was our arch rival, and so I coached against Gatlin a couple times, and then I moved to Burley, and then his family ended up moving to Burley, so I ended up coaching him. So I've seen him from both perspectives. I've had to defend against him and got to coach him, and they knew each other. They met a couple times on the field, nothing big, but they have communicated since then. But I would guess that Colston will be one of the guys that hosts him when he goes on as official.
Right. Right. No doubt. So, I mean, factors in his recruitment and, you know, what is Michigan doing right? Where do you think they kind of stand with him at this point?
So I would say with Gatlin's, you know, if you look at his top five is a little odd for people too. I mean, his top five is, he got offered by Georgia. He's going to get offered by Alabama soon. He got offered by everybody in the country. In fact, there were schools that were major schools that called and offered him, and he just said no thanks because he just knows he's not going to live in that place. So his top five is Michigan, Nebraska, Oregon, Boise State, and TCU, which is, with all those big offers,
right,
they're all takes. That was who he landed on. And if you look at his, like, what Michigan's done really well is Gatlin is very focused on his future, and he knows already that he's going to be a kinesiology major, and he wants to be like a personal trainer for Division I athletes and open up a business with his brothers where one of them's handling like the nutrition side, he's handling like the speed and strength and conditioning side. Like, that's how driven and focused this dude is, and so he knows that Michigan has one of the top, like their strength and conditioning coach is the highest paid strength and conditioning coach in the nation.
Right.
And the way that they develop athletes is above and beyond what others are doing right now. So I would say their capacity and their facilities and their ability to train and develop, and he's looking at what's happened to Colston. He gets to see that live. He knows what he looked like when he left. He knows what he looks like now because he's seen him in both situations. He knows that that's a situation where he's going to be developed. And then Coach Bellamy has just done an amazing job of, you know, he knew Jay in the beginning, and then they handed it over to Coach Bellamy, and Coach Bellamy has just done an amazing job of building that relationship. So, not to mention he sees that last night Michigan's class is now the number one in the nation, and all they're missing is a wide receiver. Like he knows that, and so I would see he sees that as the schools that are in top five all have something in common. He can see a path to his goals through that institution. And Michigan has done a great job of portraying how they could do that.
And so, guys, there you have it. It's very clear that a lot of what made Michigan resonate with Colston Loveland, Steve, is making them resonate with Gatlin Bair. I mean, you see all the big timers come in, and then you look at his list, and you don't see Bama. Like, you don't see those. You see Michigan, of course, but it's not like just because Bama came in, you know, similar to with Colston or any of these other SEC powers. They come in. He doesn't automatically fall all over himself to include them in his top five. He's going with the guys or the programs that he has the best relationships with. Michigan is clearly one of them.
So that fresh Idaho air, you know, must keep the mind a little clearer, you know, when making their decisions or whatever. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, Michigan, elite football program, but we've always kind of said Michigan is different than those schools down south, right? So like this is what a time when it can actually benefit them, that it's not all the bells and whistles type stuff that draw a lot of, or that push a lot of kids to some of those other schools, mostly down south. So yeah, Bear, you know, Michigan so close with Kenyon Sadiq last cycle. We'd be talking about them really 3 4-star guys, but also 3 like freak athletes out of the state of Idaho in a row. You know, if they can finish on Gatlin Bair also, but either way, Michigan's they signed Colston Loveland. They probably finished second to Oregon for Sadiq, and we feel like they're right up there with Gatlin Bair as well. Yeah, Jay Harbaugh, kind of the potato guy, you know, like
pause. I'm sorry, Jay. Did I start out? I did say Jay. I was about to say, did I leave Jay off?
No, I think you did. No, yeah, no. The guy that's kind of kickstarted this Idaho situation a little bit, you know, when they found Colston, I think they started to like at least not take Idaho more seriously, but at least keep a closer eye out, ask around a little bit more about some guys, you know, because when they offered Kenyon Sadiq, he was nowhere near where he finished being ranked at. I think he was an 85 or an 86 type 3-star. I think he ended as a top 100 or really close. Gatlin, I think, was a 4-star the majority of the cycle, I want to say already, and he skyrocketed in our last update. I don't know if you guys agree. Feels like Brandon Huffman kind of wants to give him a 5th star eventually. It feels like I could tell. I mean, he bumped him all the way to 40th, and I'm like, yeah, that's a guy that they want to keep moving up if they like what they see in the next few months or so. So, yeah, I mean, proof also that the Michigan brand travels, right? Because again, Idaho, it's like, not a surprise that a kid would go to Oregon from there, like some of those Pac-12 type schools, but yeah, Michigan is in all of these races that they've put themselves in Idaho. And yeah, Bair, I think you mentioned, Sam, not to steal your thunder here, but more of a football player, like you said, than Harbor maybe was on the surface, and a guy that, he can go on a mission for 2 years and come in and potentially just be a guy right away for them.
Football is his priority to make the comparison. Nick's sort of priorities are divided. Like he's coming in and he's just like in high school, he's doing football and track. Gatlin's not even doing track his senior year in high school. So forgetting the fact that he's not going to do track at not Michigan, track in college, he's not doing it his final year in high school, guys. Football is his thing. And that is a key difference here, Brice. But one similarity to draw back to Colston is you have Cameron Anderson there as the coach, and that is a great plug for Michigan in this recruitment.
Yeah, that's Michigan fans might be familiar with. I went down and I actually saw Colston play in high school, and that was his high school coach. Now he's coaching Gatlin Bair over at Burley High School. But this recruitment, I mean, Steve always talks about, well, stuff kind of going wrong in recruitments, like Gerard Smith committing, but not his brother. Like only Michigan would have one brother commit, but not the other right away.
Right.
But this is one where it's setting up nicely for Michigan, where they could pull this one out. You talk about, people asking me on the board, can Michigan land any more 5-stars? It's a good chance that I think, one, if I had to predict today, I think Michigan would land him. But 2, I think he ends up as a 5-star. Those are both my predictions looking at him. He's a freak of nature. And the biggest thing with me looking at him is it's tough to evaluate because they say competition Idaho is not the greatest, right? But you look at Colston and you look at how he's just a freak of nature as well. And then you talk to his coach, who has a pretty good track record, and he's a good eye for talent. I'm going to take his, recommendation on a kid like this and what he's shown on the track as well. He's got the speed just to back it up. And, people might be concerned about him going on a mission, especially, I've seen people mention to me about, well, what about Andrew Gentry? And maybe that slowed his development. Well, he's an offensive lineman. It's a little different when it's a wide receiver. You know what I mean? I think that's a, apples to oranges comparison. But this is a guy that Michigan can land, 2 years down the road, 2026 class. Man, that's an instant day, maybe not day one, but pretty quickly soon talent you can use to your disposal. And I think that's a guy that can help you in so many ways.
Yeah, the Gentry thing, I get it, but you're right. It's apples and oranges, and even among offensive linemen. I mean, you think about what they say. It's like he hadn't really passed set in high school, so there's an aspect of his game that really needs to be developed, not just to return to form. Whereas with Gatlin Bair, it's just going to be a matter. I mean, they could have scored 100 points in a game last year. One of the things that Coach Anderson was saying, like, they throw him a lot of balls, he gets a lot of action. The speed translates. He's going to be an early enrollee in the 26th class, so it won't be like he's coming in the fall and has to get ready. He'll have all the winter conditioning. He'll have all the spring ball to learn the playbook. Then he'll have summer conditioning before he even gets to fall camp. It sets up to put him in position to really hit the ground running coming off of his mission. So That would be an amazing pickup for Michigan if they can pull it off. Boy, that's just. And I didn't even mention this. I guess I should have mentioned this top 5. I know Coach Anderson did there in that piece, but just think about this. I mean, you got all these big timers that have offered him, like Georgia. Miami's coming in with an offer. A&M, Texas is offered, right? You got all those schools coming in, and you look at his top 5. Michigan sticks out. Michigan, Oregon's in there, of course, but Nebraska, TCU, Boise State. That's his top 5. No disrespect intended to all those schools. TCU obviously beat Michigan in the playoff. But as far as profile is concerned, if he were driven by that, you see Georgia in there, right? You see Florida in there. Those schools would make his top 5 guaranteed if that's what this was about. Texas and Texas A&M would be in there, and they're not. I think that is a huge sign that Michigan on the relationship side of things has done a fantastic job.